Wow, 100 subscribers. Man, that is crazy. I never thought I'd get there. Well, it was 100 when I started this script. At the time of recording, we're currently up to, let's see here. 2,200! What the fuck? Yeah, I may be a little late for this one. Whoops. That Friday Night Funkin' video really blew up. In any case, thank you all for subscribing. It means the world to me. So to celebrate such an important milestone, I figured I'd finally make a video on the namesake of the channel, the game room itself. But instead of doing something normal like a room tour, I'm gonna do something different. Something really different, and really, really stupid. So, hi, I'm Jesse and I run this unorganized mess of a channel. I've been collecting video games since about age 9, and around 12 years later, this channel and this game room are the fruits of my labor. This is my 2,200 subscriber special. This is my game room, and this is my game room Iceberg. If you're deep enough down the YouTube rabbit hole to be watching this channel, then I'm sure you already know what an iceberg chart is. But for the -4 of you who have no idea what I'm talking about,
let me explain.
An iceberg chart is an image that ranks trivia about a topic on different tiers. The lower you go, the more obscure and sometimes creepy the entries get. Since this iceberg is about my own personal game room, the topics will be ranked from the most expected to the least expected. Whenever I talk about an entry, I'll have some relevant footage on screen. And for any of the times I don't have footage, don't worry. You have some sick Jet Set Radio gameplay going on in the background to fill the void. But let me warn you, if you came here for high-level gameplay, you're in the wrong place. But enough chit-chat, it's time we get to the chart. Let's fucking go! Layer 1. The origins of Flip Crazy. In several places online, you may find me under some variation of the username flipcrazy.inc. This name goes all the way back to Flipnote Studio on the DSi. I used to make all kinds of little doodles and animations on Flipnote Studio all the time. It was great. Unfortunately, I lost that DSi years ago, so all of those are long gone. A few kids on the school bus I rode also use Flipnote Studio, so together we formed the company Flip Crazy Incorporated. Well, calling it a company is a bit much. It's more of just like a group name that we use when doodling stuff. But man, it was real to us, damn it. As time went on, the 3DS released, and with it, we all stopped using Flipnote Studio. But I never stopped using that name. It's just kind of stuck around, you know? But enough about me. How about we start talking about the actual game room itself? And what better place to start than the games. You can't have a game room without games, otherwise it would just be a room. Jesse's room. I tend to collect a little bit of everything, at least anything and everything that interests me, and these shelves are where I store that everything. So far my game collection spans 2 wood grain press board shelves and 1 custom built shelf over by the modern gaming consoles. Thanks, Dad. Going in order, we have PlayStation 2, original Xbox, GameCube, Xbox 360, Wii, the best console, PS3, Wii U, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch on the first shelf. Continuing with Switch, NES, Famicom, Famicom Disk Systems, SNES, Super Famicom, and my one Master System game, Great Football! Genesis, N64 with Etsy end labels, highly recommend these by the way, Atari 2600, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, and PS1. That only leaves 1 shelf left, and that's the custom built shelf over by the modern consoles. Over here we have the remainder of my PS1 games, the only GBA game I bothered making a case for because Nintendo won't.
Come on, Reggie, give us Mother 3!
Luckily for me, this is a decision that I'm no longer part of.
DS, 3DS, my one DSi exclusive game, PSP, PS Vita, and my few boxed PC games. And that's pretty much it in terms of games. There are a few stragglers on display separately, like the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games up on this ridge here, Mother 1 and 2 on display in their own section of the shelf, some miscellaneous case list games down on the bottom shelf, and I can think of no better place to store Sonic X on the Leapster than the Scorpion Skull. With the games taken care of, now we just need a screen to play them on. And of course, what screen could be better than a bunch of old CRTs? Multiple CRTs. Let's start with the main CRT. My main CRT is this beautiful beast right here. A big old consumer-grade 27-inch Sony Trinitron. It sits on top of another custom shelf made by my dad. This set may be incapable of doing 480p, being locked to 240p and 480i video sources only, but I'd rather have a CRT that can't do 480p than one that handles 480i and 240p improperly. Besides 480p, this beast has everything I need. Tons of composite inputs as well as a NES video input, and a big beautiful set of component video inputs right on the back. For a while I considered modifying this TV to accept a pure RGB SCART input, but eventually I found this little device, the RetroTink RGB2 comp that converts any RGB signal you put into it into a YPB PR equivalent that you can plug into this thing. And since RGB and component are pretty much identical in quality, this makes any video mods I want to do to this pretty much irrelevant. I mean, yeah, if you want to get really technical, there are some very slight minor differences in the color space of RGB and component video that make the two technically different, but I can't see it, especially not on a CRT like this. And besides, if I want to use actual RGB input, I could just use the Sony PVM. This is my son, a Sony PVM 1342Q, and I am very proud of him. He's not perfect, by any means. The Sony logo's fallen out, there's a few scratches, scuffs, and dings above the screen, and there's this weird vertical line that moves slightly with the image for some reason. It's not burn-in. If it was, it wouldn't be moving at all. I'm not exactly sure what it is. My best guess is a capacitor issue, but I'm afraid to open this thing up to do any repairs on it. Partially because I'm afraid I might kill it, partially because I'm afraid it might kill me. The tubes on the back of these things aren't something to be fucked with lightly, so you gotta be really careful when taking them apart. The line isn't really that big of a deal anyways, you can learn to ignore it. I know I did. Especially with image quality this fucking crisp. I swear to God, playing games in RGB on a PVM is like looking at an emulator with a scanline filter. It's surreal. And thanks to the fact that this monitor has both RGB inputs as well as outputs, that means I can run a game into the PVM, out of the PVM, into the RGB to comp converter, out of the converter, and into the Trinitron at the same time. Boy, is it real fun to be playing one game on two TVs at the same time. Wait a minute. Two CRTs? What about the one up there? The Papa John's CRT. This spicy meatball is the final piece to my CRT Triforce, a JVC TM-A113SU security monitor. I actually got this one from a Papa John's for around 20 bones. In 2020, they still had this beast up front recording security footage, so I told them, hey, if you ever upgrade, I'd be willing to buy this from you. Turns out, they had already upgraded some time ago. So arrangements were made, 20 bucks changed hands, and I ended up being the owner of this monitor, the little stand it was on, and the security camera it came with. This thing may have really bad burn-in on the screen, and it may only have composite NES video, but since it has both composite inputs and outputs, that means I can chain all three CRTs together to do stuff like this. And that's the retro video setup. But what good's retro video without the retro consoles? So, yeah, here are my retro consoles. I like to think I've acquired a pretty good collection of them over the years. By no means do I have every system ever released. One look at the game console by Evan Amos is proof enough of that fact. Instead, think of the consoles I do have as kind of a best of gaming history set. Over here on the plywood shelves, we have an RGB modded Famicom with an EverDrive cart and a Famicom disk system, an Atari 2600, a PS1, PS2, Sega Saturn with a pseudo Saturn cart, and a Sega Dreamcast. There's also this Xbox 360 sitting by the TV itself, meant for Halo 3 LAN play. I've been meaning to get it wired up into my main network, but I've been too cheap and lazy to buy an extra switch to do that, so it's just kind of been sitting here. There are some other odds and ends on the shelf, such as some old Atari manuals, a wireless Saturn controller by Retrobit, a hard storage case for my copy of Cards Against Humanity, that kind of stuff. To the right of the plywood shelves, there's some cheap Dollar General shelves which contain the rest of my retro consoles. We have an N64 that I installed the Tim Worthington RGB kit in. There's also this RGB modded custom painted SNES Mini, an original Xbox and NES, and last but not least, a big, beautiful, great sounding Model 1 Genesis. Hey, so this is future Jesse. I'm editing all this and just now realized I forgot to mention the GameCube. Fucking whoops. I try to have all my consoles hooked up in either RGB or component, and I like to think I've done a pretty good job with that so far. Currently, they're all hooked up this way except for the Sega Dreamcast and Nintendo GameCube. I still haven't shelled out the money for a G-SCART or any kind of SCART switching solution, so I'm still manually swapping each SCART input into this little plug up here, which goes into the PVM. The signal then gets passed out of the PVM, turned into a component, which can then be switched using these component switch boxes over here to display on the big chungus Trinitron. And that's it for the retro consoles. They're pretty neat, at least I like to think so. But what about more modern consoles? Surely I have those, and they must display on something more advanced than a 480i CRT, right? You're absolutely right. So what do you say we start talking about the modern setup? This right here is where the new stuff lives, in the future zone. And it all centers around this, an LG UM6950 Dub 4K TV. Why this one specifically though? Well, it has component video inputs for my Wii, and its response time was nice and quick. Plus the picture on it looks absolutely incredible. I have my PC hooked up to it with an extra long 25-foot HDMI cord. Perfect for multiplayer sessions of Duck Game, Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and Guilty Gear Strive. I haven't invested in a good HDMI switcher yet, but I don't mind manually swapping cables by hand for the time being. As for the more modern consoles, I have a PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Wii U, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and last but certainly not least, on its own little special shelf, my beloved Nintendo Wii, which I actually modded with a Wii Dual Kit for better video output. The HDMI output that the mod provides stopped working a little bit after I installed it. Granted, my modding technique isn't the best, so it's probably something related to that. I'll need to open it up and look at it again. For the time being, I'm just feeding the component video, which is also improved by the mod, straight into my open source scan converter. On top of these main more modern consoles, I even have some mini consoles, such as the Genesis Mini, SNES Classic, PlayStation Classic, and PlayStation TV. This collection of systems explains all the crap around the 4K TV as well. A PS4 camera for PSVR, 360 Connect, mainly so I can play the Gunstringer, a Wii sensor bar, and a Wii Speak hidden under the shelf so I can send insightful messages to my friends with Reconnect 24, such as this one. To the bottom left of the TV is my controller storage. I keep all my controllers and wires in separate sandwich bags to prevent the cords from tangling up. For the controllers I use most often, I keep them up here in this wicker basket on top of all the drawers for easy access. Alright, we've covered the retro consoles, we've covered the modern consoles, that just leaves the handhelds. The last pillar of my console collection consists of the handhelds. These are generally stored near the modern consoles in their own little sections on either side of the 4K TV. Starting at the far left side, we have the DS systems, featuring a cobalt blue Nintendo DS Lite sitting on top of a new Nintendo 3DS XL, right alongside an original DS, complete with its weird little thumb stylus. This DS Lite was actually the same color as my childhood DS Lite, although that system is sadly long gone. Sitting over here in this DS carrying case are my DSi systems, a black DSi and a burgundy DSi XL. Neither of these were the DSis I had as a kid. Actually, the black one is one of my friend's DSis, one of the friends who helped me form Flip Crazy Incorporated. So, in a way, it still has connections to my childhood DSi, even if it isn't the exact one. Thankfully, though, both of these do have Flipnote Studio installed on them, and with a bit of DNS redirection, the Flipnote Online features can be restored with sudo memo. Up on the windowsill on the right of the TV, we can see three more systems: a modded GBA with an IPS screen and video output capabilities, an unmodded GPA that I plan on installing a Game Boy Consolizer kit into, and a soft-modded 2DS I tinker with occasionally. Don't worry about these getting sun bleached, by the way. I put UV blocking film on all the windows to prevent any damage to the collection. Moving down slightly to the top of this shelf, we see yet another DS Lite, a red one that actually used to belong to my buddy Tommy, and this GBA SP. This is actually my sister's childhood unit. It was just sitting in the box in the back of the basement this whole time. And wouldn't you know, it happens to be an AGS 101. We're at the home stretch now, only 6 systems to go. Next up, we have my original Game Boy and Game Boy Color. These have both been fully modded with funny playing IPS screens from retromodding.com and reshelled with custom shells. The original Game Boy DMG that I modded is an Amizucat designed Pastel Boy shell, which I think looks pretty neat, and the Game Boy Color in its own glow-in-the-dark shell doesn't look half bad either. The Game Boy line of games is stored to the left of these units. Not quite the best storage solution, but it works pretty well. The last Nintendo handheld I have in my collection is the Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch unit. A cool little novelty, but not really much more than that. Alright, final 3 consoles, let's do this! First up, we have this PSP 2000. Sleek, slim, soft modded so I can play backups and homebrew, and a good way to watch the Cowboy Bebop movie, because fuck if I'm paying for a Blu-ray for that thing. Have you seen those prices? Alright, looking again, those prices aren't as bad, but still, for a while it was really, really expensive. And the UMD movie version of this film was like $5 for new. So, yeah. This is a weird tangent, I'm getting back. Next up are my PlayStation Vitas. My Vita 1000 has also been soft-mounted. It's an absolute chonker, but it feels amazing in my hands. I just wish there weren't these weird spots on the OLED display. It's not that big of a deal though. This thing can play Half-Life. Can your Vita do that? I mean, if it's modded, it probably can, but that's besides the point. With all that covered, that only leaves one system left. My main PS Vita, a Vita 2000, specifically the Persona 4 Dancing All Night Edition. It's in excellent shape, and it even came in its original box. Alright, that's it. That's all my consoles, but not all the devices I game on. I think we're missing the big one. The arcade machine. Get it? Because it's big?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
In any case, this is my arcade machine. I built it while I was still in high school. Well, the woodworking was done by my dad and I did all the internals. A Raspberry Pi 3, later upgraded to a Pi 4 8GB model, some Dragon Rise joystick encoders, and the small HD TV are what makes up the entirety of the electronics. And what a TV this thing is. Just look at that sharp, beautiful picture. Oh yeah, the TV died. I've been meaning to replace the display in this thing for a few months now, but as has been a running theme, I've just been too lazy to get off my ass and do it. What I haven't been too lazy to do is to add more stickers to it. Honestly, it's kind of fun anytime I get new stickers to just slap them on the arcade machine. All kinds of series are represented here. Got Mario, Zelda, tons of Pokemon stickers, Fallout, Omori. Yes, hi, hello, this is me reminding you to play Omori, it's really fucking good, okay, bye! Undertale, Persona, Cyberpunk, Witcher, even this Mario Brothers movie sticker. I also tend to take stickers off of product packages I get to put on here because I think it's funny. Like this sticker saying that you can see exclusive footage of Halo 4 if you buy the Red vs. Blue Season 10 DVD, featuring Elijah Wood from Lord of the Rings. Or this sticker reminding you to download the We Speak channel when it releases in December 2008. Or even this sticker, which is a lithium battery shipping label, with the appropriate number to call if this thing spontaneously catches fire. Toasty. Alright, that has to be the last gaming device in here, right? Nope! Because what battle station would be complete without the gaming PC? This right here is the Flip Crazy Meme Machine. It's got a Ryzen 7 2700, an RTX 2070, and 32GB of RAM. Currently it's running Windows 10 Home Edition, but I'm looking to switch to Linux when the new version of Proton comes out. Thing's my one-stop shop for PC gaming, high-end emulation, and of course VR using the Valve Index. Oh, I also do schoolwork on it or whatever. But who cares about that when this thing can run Render 96, RTX, and Cyberpunk 2077? I can only describe my computer desk as an organized mess. The Solid Snake and Scalebearer figures on the left, the Wacom Intuos tablet and the Blue Yeti microphone, that decorative microfiber cloth right there. It's a mess, definitely, but it's a mess that I'm used to. I love this thing. It's great, and I do pretty much everything on it. Well, everything except video editing. For that, I use my MacBook. Yeah, I gave Apple my money. I know, I hate myself too. But this is a really good laptop, and I'd be a liar if I said it wasn't. It's an M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch model. I did cheap out a bit by only getting the 256GB storage option, but that's no problem. I'm sure I can just open it up and swap out the internal M.2 drive. Oh wait. I forgot this is Apple we're dealing with. The SSD is not only proprietary, but it's soldered directly to the motherboard, so no upgrading the internal storage for me. Oh well, at least I can edit Final Cut off of an external hard drive, which I'm actually doing right now. Anyways, let's get back to the collection. And out of all the stuff I collect, there may be nothing quite as easy to collect and fun to collect than Amiibo. That's right, Amiibo. Remember these things? I've been collecting them ever since they initially released in 2014 with Smash Brothers, and I like to think I've acquired a good collection over the years. By no means is it complete, nor will it ever be complete. I ain't spending that much money. But I'm pretty happy with what I have. And besides, who else has a working Sans Amiibo? Probably a few people, but still.
I just think they're neat.
Alright, with the Amiibo down, we only have one entry left on Tier 1. It's time we get to the poster wall. So I'm sure you noticed, there sure is a lot of stuff hanging from the walls in this room. Yes, from floor to ceiling, door side to door side, the wall is completely covered in posters, cards, pins, hats, and hand-wired Cat5 AV cables. There are even some floppy disks and CDs hanging on the wall. There's no way I can cover everything, but I'll try to hit the highlights. Starting with the door, we have a Scott Pilgrim game poster, a foam diamond sword from Minecraft that I've had since I was a kid, and some random Pokemon cutouts. There's also this really cheap metal sword mounted above the door. It ain't nothing fancy, but I have fond memories with that thing. If you were to go far back enough on this channel, or more accurately, get linked to it because it's an unlisted video, you'd find a video I uploaded years and years ago called Flaming Sword of Danger and Stupidity, where Nick, Cody, and I lit this sword on fire using a can of spray adhesive. It's dark, it's hard to see, it was filmed on my 3DS, and my god was it fun to shoot. Over to the left of the Pokemon Snap Station, we have the Pokemon section of the wall. I mean, there's a Rick and Morty poster at the top of this section, but let's just ignore that for now. We have these giant cards, smaller cards inside of special card boxes, and the wrappers for those 7-Eleven Detective Pikachu candy bars. I really wish they kept the flavors around after the promotion was done. I mean, yeah, they would have to get rid of the Pokemon branding, or more accurately, the Detective Pikachu branding, but still, those candy bars were really good. I'm on a tangent, aren't I? I digress. To the right of the game shelves, and the small adorning shelf where I store DVDs and my Elite controller, we see the continuation of the poster wall. There are Shantae and Doom posters, some hats, a latex puppet mask that I wore for Halloween years and years ago. There's a dead DS Lite, a Wii motherboard, a broken copy of Sonic Adventure and Simpsons Hit and Run, and a Sonic 3 Tiger handheld, along with a parallel zip drive on the wall. Along the wall that runs behind the CRTs, you see more posters, GTA San Andreas and 5, Fallout 4, Scott Pilgrim, this Hidden Waluigi poster, these floppy disks and hard drive, a new Super Mario Bros. Wii poster, and an old school retro NES poster. In and around the comic zone, we see some posters for No More Heroes 1, No More Heroes 2, as well as Metroid Prime and the flag of Santa Destroy California. While we're looking at this little ridge where the flag is, I should probably talk about these things, huh? One day while I was cleaning my room, I found my old Bakugan that I had since I was a kid. I figured it'd be kind of fun to display them somewhere in the game room, and since this little beam right here is actually a steel beam covered up by some drywall, there are magnets attached to it perfectly, so I decided to hang them from the ceiling. I also decided to hang up this Pokemon Sword and Shield promo flag here, to prevent the light from the light bulb from glaring off the TV. I also hung up a Wii Speak box, and added a Halo Energy Sword for some extra spice. Anyways, let's get back over to the posters. Over here above the plushes, we see one of the coolest things on the poster wall. These aren't posters technically. These are the actual pieces of artwork that would adorn an arcade machine running Puyo Puyo Sun in Japan in the 90s. A few of you seem to notice my copy of Puyo Puyo Sun for PS1 at the start of my Friday Night Funkin' PS1 video. And if you're one of those people, stay tuned. I have a video in the works that I think you'll really like. We're off track again, back to the poster wall. Around the window we see some controller boxes, a few trippy Mario pictures, patches, coasters, and an Animal Crossing New Horizons poster. Above the 4K TV we see this neat Mario Galaxy puzzle, a few more Switch game pre-order posters, the Siva Gunner poster and Stardew Valley Records slip mat, and this disassembled Motorola flip phone. Why is this here? No reason in particular, it just looks neat. Alright, home stretch, here we go boyos. We have some Pac-Man Lotto tickets, this really low-res cloth Persona 4 Golden poster, some Half Genie Hero concept art, this Nintendo Power commemorative poster, SNES Classic Walking Dead Shinobi DS posters, and this really funny pissed off letter Bill Gates wrote to some people in the 70s for pirating Microsoft Basic for the Altair 8800. And last but certainly not least, we have these 3 animation cells, used in the production of The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I should really get a picture frame for these, but for the time being I have them mounted on the wall like this. Don't worry, it does no damage. I've done my research to make sure that I wouldn't ruin any of these. After all, there's only one of each in existence. And that's it. That's it for layer 1 of the game room Iceberg. And one layer down, and this is already the longest video on the channel. Well, almost the longest. The podcast I made with my mom, where we watched Evangelion and talked about each episode after it was done, is longer, at about an hour. So, let's see if we can top that one. Let's see if the rest of the layers push us above that hour mark. Alright, enough chit-chat. It's time to get down to layer 2. Let's do this. Layer 2. The Snap Station. So this is the Pokemon Snap Station. Ain't it beautiful? My unit isn't 100% complete. I'm missing some bits and bobs that attach to that. Hey, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. Well, it should if you've seen my Pokemon Snap Station video. but for those of you who didn't watch it, I'll give you the TLDR. The Pokemon Snap Station was a kiosk found in Blockbuster video stores in 1999 that existed so you could print out pictures you took in Pokemon Snaps onto these cute little sticker sheets. After the promotion ended, some of these machines ended up in the hands of private collectors, with me getting my unit in 2019. It's definitely one of the coolest things I own, and it used to be the rarest thing in my collection, but it eventually got dethroned by something we'll talk about a bit later. But something we can talk about now is another store promotional item that ended up in my collection. The Amiibo sign. Now this sign right here probably looks a bit familiar to you if you ever went looking for Amiibo at Walmart around the time of their initial release. Yes, this actually used to be attached to an interactive Amiibo display with a built-in touchscreen that you could use to learn more about the line. As with all promotional displays, it was eventually retired. While I don't know where its body went, its face ended up in my possession, and I think it's pretty neat. God, I should stop personifying these things. It makes me sound like a serial killer. Oh shit, is the mic still on? The Comic Zone. And here, we see what I like to call the Comic Zone. This is where you'll find, well, comics, but also manga, light novels, graphic novels, art books, and if you go far enough, you may even find some actual fucking books. Let's start with the Western comics. There are a few Marvel and DC comics in here, but the vast majority of these are just IDW Sonic comics. Yeah, I know I'm a disappointment, but hey, what can I say? They're really fun to read, and probably the best story the series has made in a long time. You may have also noticed this PlayStation VR headset sitting on top of the comics. It's just a neat place to store it, plus I think it looks kinda nice. That goes for pretty much all of these little knickknacks on top of the manga. Getting back to the manga though, we have all kinds of series. Ace Attorney, Higurashi, Zelda, Persona, Scott Pilgrim, tons of series. Wait, Scott Pilgrim isn't a manga? Counts in my book. I also have some light novels like Evangelion, Anima, and Konosuba. Near the end of the shelf, we get to the big chonkers. Big hardback art books, game guides, all held in place by this dead PS2. I also use this broken Xbox 360 as a book stopper for the remaining books. Though, there aren't that many books left. Just this Cyberpunk guide, this copy of My Tank is Fight, and these No More Heroes 1 and 2 art books. So that's all the books, right? Oh, yeah. But what about this binder here? The card binder. This little binder is where I keep all sorts of trading cards. If you couldn't tell by the name of this entry. Aside from this Xeno GC mod chip I have lodged into the binder spine, there's no external marking saying what it's for. In terms of what's inside this binder, well, it's a little bit of everything. Animal Crossing Amiibo cards, Pokemon cards, Shantae Half Genie Hero cards from the Limited Run Games set, Limited Run Games cards in general. Got some Weiss Schwarz, and I think there are some Digimon cards in here too. Basically any trading cards I get my hands on that I think are neat, they go in here. Except for the Super Mario Bros. 1993 live-action movie trading card set, that goes up on the shelf. And speaking of movies, the Multimedia Mountain. And this is my multimedia tower. With it I can watch VHS, DVD, and even Laserdiscs. They're all hooked up to my CRT with composite video. Certainly not the highest quality connection out there, but it's the only option I have for VHS and Laserdiscs. And besides, what could be more badass than watching Blade Runner on a Laserdisc on 3 CRTs at once? I mean, probably a few things, but that gets the most nerd street cred, right? Right? As for Blu-rays, well, I just use my PS4 to watch those, and it works pretty well. I do have a few 4K Blu-rays that I don't have anything to watch those on yet, but I'm sure when I get an Xbox Series X or PS5, I'll be able to watch them on that. I'm sure you also noticed this record player up here. This is my Audio-Technica LP60X. I got it in a bundle with that speaker right next to it. I can use it to listen to my record collection, which mainly consists of Redbox and what else but video game soundtracks. If I want to listen to any of my CDs, I have a number of devices that can do that, though I tend to use the Sega Saturn as my CD player of choice. The media for these devices can be found on the bottom row of the game shelves. It starts with the VHS tapes. I got into VHS collecting because of the YouTuber Kenny Lauderdale, who covers old anime on VHS and Laserdisc. His content convinced me to start collecting tapes, especially anime. I found a really good lot of 7 anime OVA tapes on eBay, which I bought. It was a good haul. I mean, one of them turned out to be hentai, but still, 6 out of 7 ain't bad. After the VHS tapes comes the DVDs and Blu-rays, with vinyl records and Laserdiscs at the right edge of the shelf. The DVDs continue on to the little black media shelf next to my PC. then continues on further with the custom shelves. At the end of the DVDs and Blu-rays comes my small collection of UMD movies. Kind of an unusual format, but I like the unusual. And finally, after the UMDs comes my small collection of CDs. Once again, mostly video game OSTs, but there's some non-game stuff in there. I think I've said all I can about this entry. How about we move on to knickknacks, doodads, and other collectibles. There are way too many miscellaneous figures, boxes, and collectibles to cover here without just making a boring list. So I'm just gonna hit the highlights. I guess we'll start with the box stuff. I have a box for the Nintendo Famicom, the Persona 4 Dancing All Night Edition Vita, the limited run games reprint of Shantae for Game Boy Color, because I'm not paying for an original boxed copy, and Rhythm Tengoku on Game Boy Advance, all up here on display. I also have the Undertale Collector's Edition in my copy of Windows XP up here, as well as the Source Engineer sign I printed out. The Black Media shelf by the PC desk also holds a few cool oddities, like this Polaroid 420 land camera, this QCat scanner, the Planet Express ship, and the 2008 Nintendo product catalog. There are figures and models as well, like this model of the Swordfish 2 from Cowboy Bebop on the Papa John's CRT, this little action figure of Spike on the wall, and these anime figures over by the Game Boy Advances. Over between the card binder and the DS nook is my small collection of plushies. If I had a bigger space and budget to work with, I'd love to display these in a claw machine, but for now they sit over here. The last piece of collection I want to focus on can be found right here, in the middle two shelves on the custom shelving unit. The first row features my copies of Mother and Mother 2, as well as these mysterious Sega cartridges that we'll touch on later. There's also some old phones, physical prints of the photos from Memori, and at the center of it all lies a copy of Fallout New Vegas, Collector's Edition. On the shelf below this one lies the Holy Grail, the Nugget Realm. Okay, maybe calling it the Holy Grail is a bit much, but if you like old phones, this is the shelf for you. We got old iPhones, iPods, Motorola Razrs, a StarTAC, and if gaming is your thing, which it probably is if you're watching a Game Room Iceberg, we have these cute little mini arcade cabinets. As I said, there's no way I can mention all of the little collectibles in my room. There are just too many. So, I hope this small list was good enough. And with that, Layers 2 is done. How are y'all doing? You doing good? Got your snacks? Do you have your drinks? Alright, we got 3 layers left. Let's do this. Layer 3. The 3D printer. Hey, do you remember last entry? You know, the one with the Source Engineer sign? Well, I didn't buy that thing. I printed it out myself, with this lad. A Creatality Ender 3 Pro. The printer sits right here, on top of the PVM. I did some testing before I placed it here, and as far as I can tell, the Ender 3 Pro either emits no EMI at all, or the EMI it does emit is so weak that it has no effect on the video signal. In any case, the printer sits here so I can add files to the SD card quickly and keep an eye on the print at all times. So far I've printed out a few things, like this cute little Doomslayer Isabelle amiibo, the Source Engineer sign as seen earlier, and this plaque. And my favorite of them all, this replica of Bloodberry, Travis Touchdown's beam katana from No More Heroes. Yes, this printer really lets me do all sorts of DIY projects. I just wish I could finish my main project. What am I talking about? Well, unfinished G-Boy. This right here is a G-Boy Wii handheld kit that I've been assembling. Well, I say that, but truth is I haven't touched this much in the last year. I got about 75% of the way done with it when I started running into some bad controller consistency issues. I did some troubleshooting and eventually decided that my initial board trim was bad. So, after a year of procrastination, I trimmed up another Wii and wired it up. It still has those controller issues, but now it also has really bad video issues. At this point, the project is on indefinite hiatus, until I either get the free time to pick it up again, or find a modder I can just pay to finish the build for me. Until then, this kid will just sit there, mocking me. Alright, this is depressing. Let's talk about something else. Let's see, how about... Oh, yeah! The arcade machine storage compartment. Look around you. What do you see? Well, I mean, you probably see your room. You can't actually look around the game room because you're not physically here. So, I'll pan the camera around for you. Looking around, there are games, consoles, computers, TVs, movies, books, posters, figures, and plushes. Those things are all out on display and they look quite nice and liven up the room. But you can't leave everything you own out and about. That would be an absolute mess. you gotta store some of it somewhere. So for all the small screwdrivers, pens, markers, mounting putty, and parts, I store them in the arcade machine. Yep, the arcade machine. This control panel isn't bolted down, it's actually hinged. It can be lifted up from the back, revealing a neat little storage compartment I use to store everything mentioned above. It's really convenient. It also allows me to troubleshoot any issues with the control panel, or quickly swap out any new sticks I might buy. And speaking of places to store things, the backpack pins. This is my backpack. It's the same one I've been using since my junior year of high school. Even now, whenever I go to college, I always pack up my MacBook in here in case I need to use it, which I never do. But still. At some point I started putting some pins on it. Why did I start? When did I start? Don't know, don't care. At this point it's just kind of a tradition. Whenever I get any new lapel pins, I just put them on here. I'm running out of space, but I'll find more space. I always do. There are pins from all kinds of series on here. Earthbound, Zelda, Pokemon, Cyberpunk, Futurama, Binding of Isaac, Thumper, even pins from Games Done Quick and the Vine Sauce's Hope charity event. Anyways, that's it for Layer 3. Things are about to get weird. Like, really, really weird. Possibly even esoteric, you might say. Or I'm just using big pretentious words. Anyways, it's time for Layer 4. Buckle your fuckles, let's go. Layer 4. My tax returns. Yeah, I'm dead serious. We're talking about my tax returns. I told you Layer 4 would be weird. When we checked out the poster wall earlier, we saw a lot of cool stuff, but I also intentionally skipped a few things. So let's circle back around and take another look at them. Let's start with this, my 2019-2020 tax returns. Now, you may be wondering, hey, if you got tax returns, why didn't you cash them in? And I'll tell you why. Because the IRS gave me a single fucking dollar. Like hell I'm cashing that in, that's absolutely hilarious. I'm framing that shit and putting it on the wall. Okay, maybe not framing it, but I'm still putting it on the wall because that is really, really fucking funny to me for some reason. Now getting back to the other thing we skipped when talking about the poster wall. The Mario Brothers arcade glass. This right here is the plexiglass panel of an original Mario Brothers arcade machine. I bought this off a guy on, what else but Facebook Marketplace. It's in pretty good condition all things considered. I mean, I wish I knew where the rest of the machine went. I would love to own an actual hardware arcade machine. Don't get me wrong, I love the machine I built, I really do. But I like playing games on their original hardware. If only I owned a super gun and some kind of arcade board to play on it. Oh wait, the Sega Titan. Yep, this right here is the Sega Titan arcade motherboard, and it's the rarest system I own. It's essentially a Sega Saturn in arcade form, and was used to run everything from Die Hard Arcade to a Pokemon photo booth. As of right now, I only have 2 games for it. Those mysterious Sega cartridges from earlier were actually games for this very board. Puyo Puyo Sun and Maruchan Degu. I even have the manuals for them. Both of these will be getting their own videos at some point in the future. But for now, let's move on to NFR and demo carts. There are actually quite a few things I have that are labeled not for resale, though most of these are just standard games that came in bundles like console bundles. The ones I'm talking about right now are these. These 5 titles spanning across the Nintendo DS and 3DS are actually the same cartridges that used to be in store demo stations. The demo carts in my possession are Rhythm Heaven, New Super Mario Bros., Fossil Fighters, and the Mystery Case Files Millionaire on DS, along with Star Fox 64 3D on 3DS. After their time was up, these cartridges were supposed to be returned to Nintendo or destroyed. But since when has that ever stopped people from sneaking these things out in the past? Certainly didn't stop the people who snuck these out. I can't think of a transition to the next entry. Arcade machine signatures. When we looked at the arcade machine stickers in Layer 1, you may have noticed some writing on the control panel here. Little Mac vs. NES. What's that about? I mentioned I finished the arcade machine while I was still in high school, right? Well, I actually got to take it to school with me a couple of times for my favorite school club, Nerd Society. And Nerd Society was great. It was a place for people to discuss anime, play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, but most importantly, we played Smash Brothers. Lots and lots of Smash Brothers. At the beginning of every year, as with most schools, there's a homecoming festival, and with it, a homecoming parade. Nerd Society had a float in that parade every year, and in 2018, our float was gaming themed. The arcade machine was secured to the float with 2 people playing it, and on that same float was me and my buddy Adam. I was dressed as Ness, and he was dressed up as Little Mac. For the entirety of that parade, we pretended to fight on the float. It was glorious. A bit cringe, but we felt based as fuck. This Little Mac vs. Ness text written on the control panel is a memento of that day. Not only that, but at the end of the parade, I had everyone involved with the float sign on the left side of the cabinet. This was much cooler than any signature page in any yearbook could ever be. I remember that night great. Yeah, I remember. It was the 21st night of September. I shit you not, it actually was. But that's not all the signatures, not even close. The next year, my college held a retro game night, and I supplied a few consoles as well as the arcade machine. And just like Nerd Society signed the left side of the machine, anyone who was there that night signed the other side. And right below that is the final signature spot, a guest book for the game room. You know what? I think I'll sign this right now. Why the hell not? Ah, damn it. What the fuck? The Dr. Pepper stains. Yeah, some of you have probably been thinking this the whole time anytime I show a shot of the floor, so I'll just say it outright. This carpet is absolutely disgusting. It was like this before I moved the game room in here, though the extra traffic and subsequent soda spills definitely haven't helped. I'll get a carpet cleaner in here eventually to fix this, but before that, I should probably first sort out the rat's nest.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
You know, if my coworker Garrett is watching this, he may not be watching anymore. I think I may have just gave him an aneurysm by showing this wire management. Yep, well, some people have come up with clever ways to hide the wires in their setups. I'm nowhere near smart enough to figure that out. At least not right now. It's certainly a pain to plug or unplug anything, but I so rarely have to do that the effort of reinstalling everything with tied up wires would far outweigh the benefit. Whenever I move into my own place, I'll design a new setup to be tangle-free. For now, it's just kinda out of sight, out of mind, you know? But do you want to know something that's always within quick reach? OSU laptop. This one's pretty simple. I managed to acquire this old Windows 7 laptop with a rotating screen and an attached stylus. It's pretty neat, but since it's so old, there's not really much I can run on it. So I just use it to play OSU. It honestly works great, but storing it in the game room itself is kinda awkward. I could store it in the super secret arcade compartment. No, there isn't enough space. Maybe I don't have to store it in the game room. Maybe I can store it outside the game room. Alright, you want to see outside the game room? Alright. Let's go. There ain't really much here. It's just a standard basement. Messy and cluttered as always. There's some space under the stairs where I store extra controllers. And over here in this dresser is yet more storage. This is where I put old laptops, mod kit parts, and extra wires. Let's just set the OSU laptop up here. There we go. Alright, what's the next entry? Fine, I'll go touch some grass. Outside. Alright, going outside. Let's get this over with. Wow, this is actually nice. The air is warm, the sun and the breeze feel nice. My cat's Lovely and Morgana are always somewhere, and the dogs come down the hill quite often. This is nice, this is peaceful. I love it. Alright, fuck this, I'm going back inside. The rarest item in the collection. So we've made it here. So it's probably the most commonly asked question game collectors get. What's the rarest thing in your collection? I know I've definitely heard that question a few times myself, and to those of you who are wondering, I have your answer right here. The rarest thing in my possession is the Pokemon Snap Station. Yeah, I'm just messing with you. This is the rarest thing I own.
What am I looking at?
This, my friends, is an in-development prototype of the game Jelly Boy for Super Nintendo. If this board looks familiar to you, Then you must be a fan of Hard for Games. This is actually the same prototype that was featured on that channel. And shortly after it was featured, it went up for sale on eBay. I've always been interested in game prototypes, betas, and development hardware. And one of my dreams as a collector was to own any prototype of any game at all. So I jumped at my chance to own this piece of history. With only one of these known to exist, that makes this PCB the rarest thing in my collection. It's something really, really cool. Something that makes this collection unique. You could even call it personalized. Alright, this is it. We got one more entry for this layer. Let's do this. Every game room is personalized.
Oh boy. And every blank is personalized entry. Never seen that in an Iceberg chart before.
Yeah, I get it. It really is kind of a cliche meme entry to put at the bottom. But I'm serious, this isn't a joke. Every game room is personalized. This game room is my pride and joy. For a large portion of my life, I've been building it up, adding all sorts of little touches, even moving it to different rooms of the house. My game room is personalized, and if you have a game room, yours is too. And personally, I'd love to see people make more icebergs based on their own game room. Because every game room is unique. Every game room is personalized. Alright, we only have one layer left. Let's finish this. Layer 5. Project Ta. You know what? I don't think I'm going to talk about this one yet. Alright, that's it. We've made it through the game room iceberg. If any of you are still watching this, I'd just like to say, thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. You have no idea how much it means to me that 2,000 people have decided that my boring ass is interesting enough to subscribe. When I started writing the script for this video, I was at 128 subscribers. At the time of me writing this sentence, I've made it up to 1,105. And at the time of me sitting down, right now, at 11:39 p.m. on October 11th, 2021, recording this voiceover, I'm currently at 2,385 subscribers. I can't believe I've even made it this far, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. I'm aiming to release one main big video a month, and when I get Starlink internet, I'll definitely start streaming some games. Though, don't expect it to be anything trendy. I'll probably start by streaming Mother 1 on NES. I'm not quite sure what video is going to be next, but I definitely want to make videos on the Sega Titan, that Jelly Boy prototype, Puyo Puyo Sun in general, and I had this idea for a video about importing games. But it just makes me happy to know that whatever I make, you guys will be there to watch it. Anyways, this has been Jesse from Jesse's Game Room, and I'll see you on the flip side. Have a good night. When the light is running low and the shadows start to grow and the places that you know seem like fantasy, there's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark. Oh shit, yeah, I'm supposed to put Rex at the end of all my videos, right? Hold on. Here we go.
Rex! Rex, who's the coolest dog?
How do I get people to subscribe?